class, it's Miss Pugz reporting to you live from our classroom. I had to grab a couple things to be better suited to teach from home, and I decided, because I'm here, why not take the opportunity to read the one and only Ivan from our carpet that we all probably miss so much. I know I do. And it's a brand new carpet. We haven't sat on it very much, so I'm here to get some use out of it, read our next session of the one and only Ivan, and say hello to our classroom from all of you, and hopefully we'll be back here very, very soon. If you are following along, we left off on page 157, and it's called Colors. Julia opens the metal box. I see a row of little squares, green, blue, red, black, yellow, purple, orange. The colors seem to glow. She pulls out a brush with a thin tuft of a tail at its end. She dips the brush in the water and wets the paper, then taps at the red square. When the brush meets the damp paper, pink petals of color unfurl like morning flowers. I can't take my eyes off that magical brush. For a moment, I'm not thinking about Ruby and Mac and the claw stick and Stella. Almost. Julia touches red again, then blue, and there suddenly is the purple of a ripe grape. She touches the blue, and her paper turns to summer sky, black and white, and now I see that she is painting a picture of Ruby. I can make out her floppy ears, her thick legs. Julia stops painting. She takes a few steps back, hands on her hips, gazing at her work. She scowls. "It's not right," she says. She glances over her shoulder at me. I try to look encouraging. Julia starts to crumble up the paper, then reconsiders. Instead, she slides it into my cage at the spot where my glass is broken. "Here you go," she says, "a Julia original. That'll be worth millions someday." Gingerly, I pick up the paper. I do not eat a single bite of it. "Oh, hey, I almost forgot." Julia runs to her book bag. She pulls out 3 plastic jars, one yellow, one blue, one red. She opens the jars, and an odd, not food smell hits my nose. Julia pushes the jars one by one through the opening. Then she slides some paper through. "These are called finger paints," she says. "My aunts gave them to me, but really, I'm too old to be finger painting." I stick a finger into the red jar. The paint is thick as mud. It's cool and smooth like bananas underfoot. I pop my fingers into my mouth. It's not exactly ripe mango, but it's not bad. Julia laughs. "You don't eat it, you paint with it." She grabs a piece of paper and presses her finger on it. "See? Like this." I place my finger on a piece of paper. I lift it, and a red mark is there. I get a bigger glob from the pot and slap my hand down on the page. When I pull my hand off the paper, its red twin stays behind. This isn't like the ghostly handprints on my glass, the ones my visitors leave behind. This handprint can't be so easily wiped away. So there's Ivan's handprint. So this may be the first time that Ivan is ever painting, which is really interesting because I maybe had forgot that he never painted, or I didn't really realize, but he must have just been drawing with crayons that whole time. So now he's getting the feel of paint, and he's seeing that if you put your hand down with paint covered all over it, it's an exact replica of your hand or of anything of those sorts. So Julia is really a great influence on him because she provides him with ways to spend his time. And I have a feeling that his painting is going to be very important throughout the rest of the book. So let's see if that's true. 161, a bad dream. I lie awake peeling dried red paint off my fingertips. Bob, who accidentally walked on one of my paintings, is licking his red paws. Every so often, I glance over at the empty ring. The claw stick glints in the moonlight. "Stop, no!" Ruby's frantic eyes startle me. "Ruby," I call, "you're having a bad dream. You're okay. You're safe." "Where's Stella?" she asks, grumbling air. Before I can answer, she says, "Never mind. I remember now." "Go back to sleep, Ruby," I say. "You've had a hard day." "I can't go back to sleep," she says. "I'm afraid I'll have the same dream. There was a sharp stick and it hurt." I look at Bob and he looks back at me. "Oh," Ruby says. "Oh, Mac." She puts her trunk between the bars. "Do you think," she hesitates, "do you think Mac is mad because I hurt him today?" Remember, Ruby gave him a little smack when they were practicing and he fell to the ground and was crying. He was in so much pain. I consider lying, but gorillas are terrible liars. "Probably," I finally say. "He ran away after that," Ruby says. Bob gives a scornful laugh. Cradled away is more like it. We are quiet for a while. Branches claw at the roof. A light rain drums. One of the parrots murmurs something in her sleep. Ruby breaks the silence. Ivan, I smell something funny. You can't help it, Bob says. I believe she's referring to the finger paint Julia gave me, I say. What are finger paints, Ruby asks. You make pictures with them, I explain. Could you make a picture of me? Maybe someday. I remember Julia's picture, the one that will be worth $1 million. I hold it up to the glass. Look, it's you. Julia made it. It's hard to see, Ruby says. There's not much moonlight. Why do I have 2 trunks? I examine the picture. Those are feet. Why do I have 2 feet? That's called artistic license, Bob says, which means like if you draw a picture of someone, you have the ability to change that person as you see fit in your eyes. Sometimes it can hurt people's feelings. Ruby sighs. Could you tell me another story, she asks. I don't think I can ever go back to sleep. I told you all I remember, I say with a helpless shrug. Then tell me a new story, she says. Make something up. I try to think, but my thoughts keep returning to Mac and his claw stick. Anything yet? Ruby asks. I'm working on it. Ivan, Ruby presses. Bob said you're going to save me. I search for true words. I'm working on that too. Ivan, Ruby says in a voice so low I can barely hear her. I have another question. I can tell from the sound of her voice that this will be a question I don't want to answer. Ruby taps her trunk against the rusty iron bars of her door. Do you think, she asks, that I'll die in this domain someday, like Aunt Stella? And now that's a scary thought to think, especially for someone as young as Ruby, because she has this realization that she may be in this setting for much longer than Ivan thought he was going to be. She's asking, like, am I going to die here? And we know that elephants live a long and beautiful life if they're in the wild. And it's a very scary thought to think that she, at this age, is thinking about if she's going to be here that long. Once again, I consider lying. But when I look at Ruby, the half-formed words die in my throat. Not if I can help it, I say instead. I feel something tight in my chest, something dark and hot. And it's not a domain, I add. I pause, and then I say it. It's a cage. So I want to just stop real quick right there because that's the first time we hear Ivan talking about his domain in a negative way. I think that Ivan is someone that has accepted his life, and sometimes people are really good at that and sometimes people aren't. And I'm someone that if I don't like something, I can't accept it and I have to get out of there or change it in some type of way. So I don't think Ivan's the same as me. I think that he's someone that's just very content with what he has, and he looked at where he was being kept with a positive light because he had to, because that's where he was and there was no getting out. And Stella used to always say to him, it's not a domain, it's a cage, because she wanted him to remember this isn't what your life should be like, and this isn't how you should be treated or taken care of. And Ivan would always be like, it's a domain, like, and domain has a positive outlook on it than a cage does. So it's the first time we're seeing Ivan decide that where he's living and where Ruby's living and where Bob's living, it's not right, and it's not where they all should be living and how they should be treated. And he finally admits, it's a cage, Ruby. This is not normal. This is not how we should be treated. We should live in a beautiful wild, or better yet, in a humane zoo that Stella talked about, where humans take care of animals and they treat them with respect. So it's the first time we're hearing Ivan waver on his life and choose that it isn't the best life. We're going to read one more page on 166. The story. I look at the ring layered with fresh sawdust. I look at the skylight, at the half-hidden moon. I just thought of a story, I say. Is it a made-up story or a true one, Ruby asked. True, I say. I hope. Ruby leans against the bars. Her eyes hold the pale moon in them, the way a still pond holds stars. Once upon a time, I say, there was a baby elephant. She was smart and brave, and she needed to go to a place called a zoo. What's a zoo? Ruby asks. A zoo, Ruby, is a place where humans make amends. A good zoo is a place where humans care for animals and keep them safe. Did the baby elephant get to the zoo? Ruby asked softly. I don't answer right away. Yes, I say at last. How did she get there? Ruby asks. She had a friend, I say. A friend who made a promise. We're going to end there. That's on page 167. So, we're going to just talk about what we read today. So that's a little bit confusing because I think when I've been reading, I've been calling it the Big Top Zoo, or I've been referring to where they live as a zoo. But in reality, they live at the Big Top Mall, which is off of a highway, which is not a zoo. It is a place where animals are kept in way too small of a domain. Ivan's domain is almost the size of our carpet in our classroom, maybe a couple feet longer, and that is where he lives every single day, all day long. And it's almost more of like a circus, but a not well kept and an inhumane circus. And what inhumane means is that it's not proper, it's not kind, and it's a bad way to treat animals. And so the zoo that Ivan is talking about and telling Ruby about is something that he heard from Stella, and is something that she calls a humane zoo, and it's a place where humans make amends. So it's almost like a sanctuary where animals go when they were maybe abused or kept in really horrible places, and they go finally and they have these wide open spaces and they're surrounded by other animals just like them, and they're taken care of, and they are loved by the owners of these zoos, and they save them from their horrible circumstances. So I think Ivan's main goal is to get them out of the Big Top Mall, because that's not where wild animals should be kept, in a mall. And he wants to get them to a humane zoo where Ruby and Ivan and Bob will all be taken care of and loved and treated with kindness. So I think that's Ivan's goal. And the story that he was telling her at the end, it wasn't happening yet, but I think he was hinting at the fact that he is going to get her to a kinder, safer place, and he promised he would. What do you think? Do you think he's going to keep his promise? I'm interested to see what you say. So remember to take the Google form in our Google Classroom. If you're not in our class, you can answer below in the comments. And remember to subscribe to our channel to know when new videos are uploaded. You can also follow me at Miss Pugz with a Z on Instagram to see what's going on in my online classroom and in my real life classroom. And we will see you tomorrow.